The rain came down in sheets that November afternoon, each drop hammering against the pavement like tiny fists demanding attention. Sarah Mitchell had ducked into the corner cafe more to escape the deluge than from any real desire for coffee, her designer heels clicking against the tile floor as she shook water from her coat. She was already running late for a meeting that would probably cost her company thousands if she missed it, but the universe seemed determined to slow her down. That's when she heard it, a small, trembling voice that would change everything. "Excuse me, ma'am." Sarah turned to find a girl of about 8 years old standing behind her, clutching a worn backpack to her chest like a shield. The child's school uniform was slightly too large, the pleated skirt hanging past her knees, and her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail that had clearly been done by inexperienced hands. But it was her eyes that stopped Sarah cold, large, brown, and swimming with a vulnerability that seemed far too heavy for someone so young. "Yes, sweetheart?" Sarah asked, her irritation at the weather melting away instantly. The girl glanced around nervously, as if checking to make sure no one else could hear. Then, in a whisper that barely carried over the cafe's ambient noise, she said, "Ma'am, can you pretend to be my mom for the school play?" Sarah blinked, certain she'd misheard. "I'm sorry, what? The school play?" the girl repeated, her voice gaining a fraction more strength. "It's in 2 hours. All the other kids have their parents coming, but she stopped, her chin trembling. "I don't have a mom who can come. My nanny was supposed to, but she got sick, and my dad is in Tokyo for business, and I can't be the only one without anybody there." The words tumbled out in a rush, each one landing like a stone in Sarah's chest. She glanced at her watch, the meeting, the contracts, the partners waiting for her signature. Then she looked back at the girl, at those pleading eyes that held a loneliness Sarah recognized from her own childhood. "What's your name?" Sarah asked softly. "Emma. Emma Thornton." Thornton. The name registered immediately. James Thornton, the CEO of Thornton Industries, one of the city's most successful tech companies. Sarah had read about him in Forbes, brilliant, driven, a self-made billionaire who'd built an empire from nothing. The articles always mentioned his dedication to his work, his innovation, his ambition. They never mentioned a daughter who begged strangers to pretend to be her mother. "Emma, Sarah started, ready to explain why this was impossible, why she had obligations, why she couldn't just drop everything for a child she didn't know. But then Emma did something that shattered every excuse forming in Sarah's mind. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a crumpled program for the Autumn Festival, a celebration of family. "I'm playing the autumn leaf," Emma said quietly. "It's not a big part. I only have 3 lines. But there's a part at the end where all the kids stand with their families, and I thought, maybe if you could just sit in the audience and wave when I look out. You don't even have to talk to anyone. I'll tell them you're my mom's friend or something. Please." Sarah felt something crack open inside her chest. She thought of her own childhood, of the school events her workaholic parents had missed, of the hollow feeling of scanning the audience and finding empty seats. She thought of the woman she'd become, successful, independent, but somehow still carrying that little girl's loneliness like a stone in her pocket. Her phone buzzed. The meeting, the contracts, her career. "What school?" Sarah asked. Emma's face transformed, hope blooming across her. "Features like sunrise. Riverside Elementary. It's only 6 blocks from here." Sarah made a decision that defied every logical instinct she possessed. "Let's go." The school auditorium smelled like old wood and children's excitement. Sarah found herself in the 3rd row, surrounded by beaming parents holding phones and cameras, ready to capture every moment of their child's performance. She felt like an imposter, a fraud playing a role she'd never auditioned for. But when the lights dimmed and the curtain rose, and she saw Emma peek out from behind the stage curtain searching the crowd, Sarah raised her hand and waved. The smile that spread across Emma's face could have powered the city. The play itself was charming in the way only elementary school productions can be, slightly off-key singing, missed cues, and a tree that forgot to fall when autumn arrived. Emma delivered her 3 lines about falling gracefully and making way for new growth with a seriousness that made Sarah's throat tight. But it was the ending that broke her. "And now," the narrator announced, a boy in overalls reading stiffly from note cards, "let us celebrate the families who help us grow and change, like the seasons themselves." One by one, the children ran off stage and into the arms of waiting parents. Sarah watched mothers embrace daughters, Fathers lift sons onto their shoulders, grandparents wipe away proud tears. And then Emma was running toward her, and Sarah found herself standing, arms opening instinctively as the little girl crashed into her with the force of someone who'd been holding back tears all day. "Thank you," Emma whispered into Sarah's blazer. "Thank you for being here." Sarah's carefully maintained composure crumbled. She held this stranger's child and understood, perhaps for the first time, that kindness didn't require permission or explanation. It simply required showing up. After the play, as other families filtered out chattering and laughing, Emma held Sarah's hand tightly. "I should call my dad's assistant," she said, the adult resignation in her voice heartbreaking. "Someone will come pick me up soon." "Emma." Sarah knelt down to the girl's level. "Does your dad know how much you need him?" Emma's eyes filled with tears she'd been holding back all evening. "He's very busy. He's very important. I'm not supposed to bother him with small things." "You," Sarah said firmly, "are not a small thing. You are the most important thing." Perhaps it was the conviction in her voice, or perhaps Emma simply needed to hear someone say it out loud, but the girl finally let herself cry, big, gulping sobs that shook her small frame. Sarah held her, this lonely child of privilege, and felt her own tears slip free. That's how James Thornton found them an hour later, after his assistant had frantically called when the nanny failed to confirm Emma's pickup. He burst into the now empty auditorium, suit disheveled from running, terror written across his face until he spotted his daughter curled up next to Sarah, both of them talking quietly in the dim light. "Emma." He rushed forward, then stopped, confusion replacing fear as he took in the scene. What's going on? Who are you?" Sarah stood, extending her hand. "Sarah Mitchell. I'm the woman your daughter asked to pretend to be her mother for the evening because she couldn't bear to be the only child here alone." The words hit him like a physical blow. Sarah watched the realization wash over his face, the shame, the guilt, the awful understanding of what he'd missed while building his empire. He looked at Emma, really looked at her, and seemed to see her loneliness for the first time. "Baby girl," he whispered, dropping to his knees. "I'm so sorry." What happened next, Sarah would remember for the rest of her life. Emma didn't run to him immediately. She stood there, arms crossed, chin raised with a dignity that belonged to someone much older. "You're always sorry, Daddy. But you're never here." "I know," James said, his voice breaking. "I know, and I'm going to fix that. I promise you, Emma. No more Tokyo during your school plays. No more missing birthdays. You are more important than any deal, any meeting, any amount of money. I lost sight of that, and I'm sorry." "Do you mean it?" Emma asked, her voice small again. "I mean it with everything I am." Only then did Emma run to him, and Sarah watched father and daughter hold each other like lifelines. She gathered her things quietly, ready to slip away from this intimate family moment, but James stopped her. "Wait," he said, one arm still around Emma. "Thank you. I don't know why you did this for my daughter, but thank you. You gave her something I've been failing to give her, you showed up." Sarah smiled, thinking of the meeting she'd missed, the contracts she'd have to reschedule, the partners who were probably furious. None of it mattered. She asked for help, Sarah said simply. And I remembered what it felt like to need someone to just be there. 3 months later, Sarah received an invitation to Emma's winter concert. She attended, sitting in the audience among real families, watching Emma sing with a father who'd reorganized his entire life to be present. After the concert, Emma introduced Sarah to her dad's new assistant, a woman hired specifically to ensure he never missed another important moment in his daughter's life. "Miss Sarah," Emma asked, tugging on her sleeve, "can you stay for cookies?" Sarah looked at this child who'd taught her that sometimes the most important thing you can do is simply show up for someone who needs you. She thought about the billionaire CEO who'd learned that success measured in dollars meant nothing without love measured in presence. She thought about how one small act of kindness on a rainy afternoon had rippled outward, changing lives in ways she never could have predicted. "I'd love to," Sarah said. And there, in an elementary school cafeteria over sugar cookies and juice boxes, surrounded by the chaotic joy of children and families, Sarah understood a truth she'd been searching for her whole life. We are not defined by the titles we hold or the empires we build, but by the moments we choose to be present for others. Sometimes courage doesn't look like closing a deal or conquering a market. Sometimes it looks like a lonely child whispering a desperate request to a stranger, and a busy woman choosing to say yes when every logical reason said no. That evening, Emma had needed a mother. But Sarah realized now that she'd needed Emma just as much, needed to be reminded that the most meaningful success is measured not in what we achieve for ourselves, but in how we show up for each other in moments that matter.